Okay. Now I'm going to do some what we call knuckle biscuits. This is going to be Knuckle Biscuits 101, and I'm going to try to teach you and anybody else that would like to learn how to make knuckle biscuits. And so this is going to be the first video of many of different recipes that I make that I'd like to pass on. This recipe was my mom's and my grandma's and my great-grandma's before that, and I'm sure before on and on before that. But those are the ones that I remember and got to experience when I was a kid. Back then they used regular flour and they added other stuff to it. This nowadays we use self-rising flour. You get you a nice ball, self-rising. And one of the main things you got to remember, make sure you wash your hands and clean your fingernails first real good. And then you put your flour in the bowl and make sure that you get enough flour in there to make you a nice little hole. So in this case that bag was didn't have enough, so I'm going to open a second bag. And yes, I do mix my self-rising flours. These both are very similar flours companies, so it'll mix nice. And I add a little bit more flour to it so that I have a nice little pile there. And then I make me a nice little nest, I call it. Round it out like this until you get you a little hole right up in here. And then you take you a glass and you get you some milk. And if you're using whole milk, you want to add water to it. Probably about like half and half almost of what kind of milk you want. So say you use whole milk, you put milk in about right here, and then you add water up to about right here, and that gives you a pretty good glass full of, that's going to make quite a few biscuits. In this case though, I'm going to make buttermilk biscuits. So I'm going to put a little regular milk in there. And then I got me some buttermilk on sale, so I couldn't pass it up. How you tell buttermilk's sour, I don't know, because to me it's already there. But I'm going to put the buttermilk in there. And because buttermilk is thick and heavy, I'm going to add a little bit of water to that to thin it out so my biscuits aren't super heavy. And that's something that Mama taught me. Okay, so I have that much milk to go in it. And the one thing I didn't grab. So then we put the milk in there, but I want to make sure when I go to pour it in there that I put my thumb about where I'm going to fill up the oil to. Because you want to do a ratio of however much milk you're putting in, whether it be this much or down to here, you're going to do about half of that of oil. And you can use canola oil like I do, or you can use vegetable oil if you prefer, or whatever kind of oil you want. But you don't want to use a super heavy oil because then it won't. You'll want to use less oil if you do, because like olive oil is heavy. And if you use it too heavy, your biscuits will turn out too heavy. And the main thing you want to do is to keep the biscuits from being too heavy. So now you take your fingers like this, and you go and you mix your oil and your milk up real good to start off with. You don't want to rush this process, because if you do, you could end up with it not turning out right. And then you start just going around like this and taking a little bit of the flour off the wall and mixing it into the center. And when you went all the way around a little bit, you mix it up good like that again. And you just keep repeating this process, and it'll start forming a nice dough. And you want to keep it going. If you start out with less milk and less oil to start off with your first batch, you probably do a lot better, because a big batch is a little harder to work with. But you can also have a big batch and put some in the freezer and bring them out later and warm them back up in some tinfoil in the oven. Meantime, I have started the oven on 350 and letting it do a preheat, because that's what I like to put my biscuits on, is 350 in this altitude. If you live higher up, you want to probably put it on about 375 and maybe use a little bit more milk than oil for sure. Then you keep going around, and as you see, it's starting to form a thicker dough. And adding flour as I go this way. And here in a few minutes, well, not a few minutes, but a few seconds actually, I'm going to start kneading it a little bit. See, it's gotten so thick that it's harder to go around and round like this. And that's where a lot of your stuff is for keeping it to rise right. Okay. Now I pull this off with my fingers and put it back in, and take a little flour and get it on my hands over the top of it, and then start just grabbing it by the sides and folding it in and adding the flour to it as you go. See? And it just gets right on in there like that. And I know this video ain't gonna be perfect, but you know, it's my first one, you guys. Y'all all know me, so you know what I'm doing here. And most of you that'll be watching it have seen me do this a few times. If you haven't, hopefully you're understanding what I'm doing here. Now you don't want to go too much more. It's gotten to a nice little form, a nice dough here that's kind of staying together when I turn it over like that. Okay, because you don't, if you knead it too much, it'll get tough on you, and it'll be a tough biscuit. If you, not a fluffy biscuit, it'll be a tougher biscuit. My grandma Ruth, she made a tough biscuit. Love her to death, but her biscuits are always a little flatter and a little tougher. Mom's were lighter, and so was little grandma, which was my great grandma. Her biscuits were fluffier. And now what we do is we take a pinch of it off and knead it into the biscuit like that, and make it a round biscuit, and eventually you'll get it perfect. It's not going to ever be perfect. And you put it in there, and well, perfect for you, but you know what I mean. I didn't mean it wouldn't ever be perfect. I just mean there ain't no such thing as a perfect biscuit, but perfect for the person who's going to eat it, I guess. What you're doing is you're tucking the dough up under so that you get a nice round top. And you just go through and you do all of this, and we're going to do it. It's going to take a minute, but we're going to do it. And you put them all in the pan, which I have already got there. And you don't have to grease your pan or anything, because you got oil in your biscuit already. So you don't want to overdo it. It won't stick to the glass or to a non-stick pan. Now, if you're using, well, even cast iron, you can cook them in cast iron and they don't stick. So you're not really needing no. And I dip after I pull it off of there, a chunk of it, I dip it in the flour a little bit to keep it from sticking to your hand when you're rolling it. And you just tuck it under as you go around, and then do a little roll on top like that. And stick it over there, and we're getting close here now. So you pinch off a piece, you just kind of do like that where you pinched it off, and you just tuck it under, tuck it under, tuck it under, and roll like that. And you get a nice little biscuit like that. And when we get them all done, I'll show you why they call them knuckle biscuits. The ones that don't know already, the ones that do, will see what I'm talking about. They already know what's coming. And then you do like that. And I got about 2 more biscuits here, looks like. Tuck it under. I'm going to put it right there. And we're going to take this one, It's the last one. And then I like to take my flour after I get done with this, because you guys aren't going to be on here. I'm not going to show you that on the video. But I take my flour and I clean up all the extra dough out of it and throw it away. And then I take the flour and I put it back into the empty flour bag and save it to reuse it. Unless I have a bowl, which I do right here. And I can leave the flour in it and put the lid on it and put the whole bowl up and then pull it out when I want to use it. And that's how I've always done it. Now I come over here and I take and press each one like this with my knuckles. And it leaves a little imprint into it. I have an older cousin of my mom's that come up with that name years ago. Knuckle biscuits. And then I take the butter, and I put a little chunk of butter in the center of each after I wash my hands. And I bake them until they're golden brown. Start to turn golden brown on 350. So the time varies depending on where you're at. And that's how I make biscuits. That's 101. And if anybody that knows how good they are. So you can try them out from there. Love y'all. Have a good day.